Hey YouTube, so I've had about a week to shoot with the Canon R6 so far, and I've taken it through a couple scenarios. Unfortunately, it was very cloudy this week, lots of rain, so I didn't get any amazing light, didn't really do wonders for my photography, but I did my best to test out the settings, the focus, the metering, so let's take a look at all of that and some of the gear that I shot with too. The ultimate goal is to find out if this camera was worth the investment, because it is not cheap. And a lot of people want to know if it's worth upgrading to. And to be honest, to kind of summarize what I'm going to talk about is, I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen enough of what this camera is doing to say that it was. To be able to say that, you need to be able to trust your camera. Wherever you take it, know that you're going to get consistent shots, consistent results, and good ones. And for the amount of money that this camera costs, I haven't seen that yet. I like what I'm seeing, and it's a lot of fun, but I'm not seeing the results yet. So let's jump into some simple stuff first. You need an adapter to shoot EF lenses, and that's all I've got right now. And I've used both the one with the control ring and the one without. And so far, I didn't use the control ring at all. Maybe I haven't found a reason to use it yet, but there's enough dials on the back of the R6 to control all the major settings. You don't need a control ring. You'd have to go out of your way to make it useful and set it to something custom that you need. So if you're looking for more buttons, it's great, but if you're just going out to shoot and you need the basic stuff, it's not necessary at all. And I know they're hard to get right now, so don't feel like you're losing anything by not having it. One great feature that I've been playing with a lot lately that wasn't available on the 6D is auto white balance with white priority. I did a little bit of testing and some reading, and what I'm finding is that when you do the white priority setting, which focuses on white accuracy as opposed to the ambient light accuracy of the room, I'm not getting those giant yellow casts on everything that I was, and I was constantly bringing that down in Lightroom. So now skin tones look good. This is shot in auto white balance, white priority. Everything is starting off in a much more realistic place, and then I could just warm shots up as I want. So I was saying, it was a very cloudy day, so I didn't get to see a lot of the strength of the dynamic range, but when the sun did peek out, I definitely saw the camera working harder, trying to recover the highlights and bring up the shadows to a more balanced place. So I liked what I saw. The thing is, you're shooting raw anyway, so you can adjust those things. It's just that you're starting off from about a 50% better place from the start. It's the same with the auto white balance. You're starting from a better spot, but it's nothing you couldn't have done in Lightroom. So I'm saving myself time in the end, and things are just looking better. To go along with that conversation is the metering mode. How is the camera seeing the scenery and assessing what's dark and light? Overall, 90% of the time, it did a fantastic job. And I have it set to the metering mode when I'm shooting stills, to the one that kind of uses the entire frame and reads corner to corner, not like a spot or a partial. And I only came into one scenario where it just didn't work. And I had this really dark building and a really bright sky. And I wanted my focus to be on the building and then recompose for the sky. And as soon as I brought my camera up to the brighter sky, my image got darker. So I think I needed to use a spot or understand how the camera locks better, but it failed in that scenario. But that was the only time. And I think that was just user error. I need to understand the settings, how to lock exposure better. Speaking of autofocus, the eye AF and the head AF is a huge seller for this camera. And I hate to say it, but I was not really impressed by its performance so far. And I'm still trying to understand why that is. As I'll show you on some examples with my 1-year-old kind of running around, which was a primary reason I wanted to kind of see what this camera could do, it couldn't even keep up with her. So I can't imagine somebody trying to shoot sports where the person's running back and forth even faster. I don't think it's going to be able to keep up. If you go to your camera and you turn on the focus preview to see where it hit on the image, it'll show you in the preview a red box where it was, and you could clearly see that it was missing the eye, or it wasn't doing the eye and it was doing the head, and I'm not sure why. It could be that I was shooting in the highest burst mode and that the processor couldn't keep up with the speed of the shots. So I'm going to try and slow it down in future videos and test to see if the eye will keep up. But also sometimes I have to physically press on the LCD to say the face is over there, go find it, or else it just couldn't find the face. So I'm not going to give up on it yet, but so far it's not a magic bullet. It's not just, you can't just wave this camera around and have it find the eye automatically. You have to baby it a little bit and I think understand how it works fully, or it's not going to give you these automatic results. And if you're just shooting, street photography or buildings and such, which I did a lot of, it did a good job for the most part, but I'd say about 30% of the time it didn't know what I wanted to focus on, and I had to just quickly press the LCD to kind of guide it where I wanted it to go, because it's just trying to find all sorts of things. I don't think it's fully developed yet or fully fleshed out. This feels like a software that is still very young. I don't think people should be running out to get this camera for that feature. If you're taking pictures of, still objects or flowers and things like that, filling the frame up, it does a really, really good job, and you'll have no problems with that. It's very smart at that. The IBIS in-body stabilization is the other major feature people are buying this camera, and I'm happy to report it does a fantastic job on all EF lenses. It brought them all up to another level, a real nice upgrade for them. And funny, I actually forgot to turn IBIS on one day on my second shoot out, and I didn't know because it doesn't actually tell you in the back of the screen anywhere if IBIS is on or off, which is really unfortunate because it's something you always want to have on unless you're shooting like this on a tripod and you don't want it to be messing up the sharpness of your shot. And I could see a clear difference from when IBIS was on and off. When you zoom in, you can see either really sharp windows or really blurry windows. So let's talk about lenses for a little bit. I still have some old EF lenses, and one of them is this very noisy 35 f2 with a micro motor. You can see it's very squeaky. On the R6, it seems like the processor is working even faster and it's hunting even more to try and find focus, and it's doing that noise like 10 times more than you hear here. It's going crazy kind of focus hunting, and there are settings in the camera to kind of tone that down and say, if you can't find the focus, just relax, don't keep going back and forth and making this annoying noise. But it's even more annoying on the R6, and that's just, I think, a fault of the old technology on a brand new body that's really powerful. So if you've got all micro motor lenses and that noise annoys you, I'm cautioning you now, I guess. You might want to upgrade your lenses. One thing I was really happy about is I have a Rokinon 14mm and it's a manual focus. It's the only one I own like this, and I hate picking it up because I suck at manual focusing. And the R6 has something called focus peaking, where it highlights in red what is in focus, and it works amazingly well with this lens. Even in testing, I was producing sharper shots than I've ever shot with this thing on the 6D. So huge win. I'm really happy that I can start to pick this up again and see what it can do. Unfortunately, the other focus targeting locking mechanism doesn't work with it, which kind of slowly narrows these points into a peak and turns green. That would have been really nice, but it does not work with this lens. I think it requires the electronics to talk to the camera, so this is more of a dumb lens. All the other lenses I've tested so far worked really well. No problems at all. Quality was exactly, if not better, than shooting with the 6D, which is funny because it's an adapted lens. You would think it would be degraded somehow. But I haven't shot with RF lenses yet. I don't know how they compare. I just know that there's no problem at all with any EF lenses being shot on the R6 that I'm aware of. When it comes to shooting video, I'm really happy to see the results of my last video. The eye tracking was working fantastic. I love being able to see the LCD screen on the side here to make sure that I'm framed a little bit better, that the exposure is correct. The 1080p video even looks a little sharper. So that's all I want to talk about for now. And I want to jump into a couple shots on the computer to kind of show you what I was shooting, what it looks like, and what I got out of that. All right, so here we have my first daylight shoot with the R6. And unfortunately, as you can see, it was extremely cloudy and I couldn't really explore the dynamic range very much. It was very flat. And the other thing is I forgot to turn the IBIS on. What you're seeing is actually not as stabilized as it could have been. So even though the images are fairly sharp, I do feel like there could be way more detail up in here. You can see a bit of motion blur even on these pillars in the back. This should have been nice and sharp because I'm pretty sure this was taken at f8. Really nothing special about these shots. I just wanted to show you to be fair, what this camera is producing in less than ideal conditions with some of its major features turned off. I did capture this one nice shot, and I was just walking along and I happened to see this boy running across the rocks. And I had my camera turned on already, and I pretty much just waved my hand, took a quick glance at the viewfinder, held the trigger down, and just let the camera impress me. And it found the boy, it locked the focus, and it caught him running without even looking through the viewfinder, which was really, really cool. I can kind of get this snipe shot, which was really nice. I at least came out with something that day, which I was happy with. The next day I took it out, it was still a little cloudy and overcast. You could see there's no clouds in the sky, but it did open up later in the day. But I was quite impressed. This time I had the IBIS on, so I was using the 24-105, which has a stabilizer built in as well, and the sharpness is really, really impressive. You can see right into these condos. Here the sky opened up later on, and the dynamic range was excellent. I was really impressed. I don't think I've ever shot at the sky and seen blue on the 6D. It was really impressive what it's capable of. Yeah, just sharp all around and nice contrast. Nice sharp photos and nice and easy to recover colors. Again, the sky just kind of popping out, really nice, sharp, good colors. Here we see again the sky, not interesting at all. It would have been great to see a giant blue sky back here, but unfortunately I didn't get lucky with the weather. So I tried some close focus shots as well, and still nice and impressive sharp from front to back on the lens. It's nice to be able to zoom around and see sharpness all the way through an image on just a 20 megapixel sensor. I feel like this is doing a great job at maintaining quality, and I think it's all thanks to the IBIS. So here I used my 6D to take a picture of the back of the R6 to show you where the camera is focusing. So I have it set to IAF, so it should be finding heads and people and faces and eyes, but I want to show you that it's actually failing a lot, like 50% of the time. And I really want to figure out why this is, if it's me or if it's just this camera that was marketed in a way that it's actually not as good as it's made out to be. So here you can see the focus missed the subject completely. Maybe she turned her head and the AF was not able to keep up with the eye and it missed her again. Here I had her jump, and you could see that the IAF at the highest burst speed could not keep up with the eye, and it lagged behind, catching her hair. So maybe her eye was there a shot ago, but the processor couldn't keep up. Again, missing the face completely. Here, I don't know how it missed the eye. It couldn't have been any easier to go and find my eye, but it decided to choose my face instead. Same here. There's literally nothing else to focus on, so why couldn't it find the eye? It doesn't make sense. Here, subject is running directly towards the camera, has no idea where the face is. Same thing here. That is not an eye, so I'm not sure why it's focusing there. So I just want to highlight again, it's really, really fun to shoot with the R6, and I think that's the reason to buy this camera. And I know that sounds weird, but don't buy this camera expecting magical quality and magical images to suddenly get better. That's more affected by the user and the lenses. That's what shapes the quality. You buy a camera body more for the technology, the screens, the megapixel size, the technology inside that allows you to focus and things like that. You don't buy it for the improved end result photo necessarily. It's more the process to get to that. There's nothing I can shoot with this that people can't do with the 6D or the 1DX series. I'm actually really enjoying photography again. I'm really inspired to go out and shoot, and I'm inspired to make these videos even more. So stay tuned. If you enjoyed this and learned something, please hit like and subscribe. Visit DemaninPhotography.com or my Instagram for even more info. Bye for now.